Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is going to take place in two parts. Our first part will be our public hearings. We will ask the applicants to come up to the podium and give us name and address, and then explain to the board members why the relief requested should be granted. After the applicant is done with the presentation, I'm sure board members will have some questions, and then we will invite anyone in the audience that cares to come up and speak about an application to do the same thing, come and give name and address, and then go ahead and speak his or her mind. Sometimes we have questions of folks as well, just to clarify their concerns, and then sometimes we invite the applicant back up to address those. After the public hearings are adjourned, we'll take a brief recess, and we'll reconvene in the back of the room to deliberate on tonight's applications, and then to tend to any unfinished business the board may have. Members of the public are certainly welcome at both sessions. However, the deliberations are a time reserved generally for conversations amongst board members with staff, and occasionally our council. Pretty lengthy agenda tonight, but applications are they're pretty clear, not all that complicated. So you're all, as I just said, welcome to stay if for whatever reason you want to leave, like it's a nice night outside. Feel free to do so, and you can call Harold and Carol tomorrow, find out what action, if any, the board took on a particular item. Each and every month I point out that it's the town's practice and policy to notify neighbors that live in the area of applications that the applications are going to be heard by this board, and the town does that via postcard, via internet, by having the applicant post a sign on the property. And the reason the town does that is so that neighbors are fully informed of their right to come in and speak about an application. We all think that's a process that works well, and we certainly welcome anyone to give us comments. That being said, I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Harold, may we have the first application, please?
Application number 1, Herb Pfuhl, 35 Autumn Trail, Webster, New York, 14580. Requests an area variance from Article 3-3-3-41-B of the Code to allow an existing deck and patio with less setback at 35 Autumn Trail. The property is owned by Marguerite and Herb Pfuhl and is zoned MR. This is SBL number 093.15-2-20.1. This is application 13Z-0017.
Mr. Summerhays, before you start, I understand today you're celebrating your 29th birthday?
39th.
30, I'm sorry. I apologize for the error.
And
Happy birthday to you.
And I appreciate your thought, and I'm going to enjoy it all.
Oh, how about that?
All respect for you.
I'll make a pretend wish and a pretend. Thank you very much. This is terrific. I'll wait till after the meeting before.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't bring enough of those for the rest of the crowd.
If I got to slice it up. Thank you very much. I am Ed Summerhays, and I'm here on behalf of Herb Pfuhl, as he's down in Florida enjoying even warmer weather. A brief introduction to the project. You have in your application the map that's posted on the left. That was an instrument survey I did that shows the deck that was constructed at just about the same time that the house was constructed on the northerly side of the dwelling. And that deck and patio encroach into the common area, and as a result of that then is less than the setback required from the adjacent property. I believe the deck is into that common area approximately 10 feet, and which leaves 70 feet to the adjacent property, and 80 is required. The map on the right, or to resolve this problem, the first thing that we had to do is purchase the property that the deck is on. So he has negotiated with the Homeowners Association, who is also represented here tonight, and the chairman of the Homeowners Association. And they have agreed to sell him that highlighted yellow strip of land that I have shown on the maps. And And so that takes care of the ownership of the property. Now, what we're looking for is a relief from the zoning ordinance for the setback requirement from the patio to the adjacent property. And attached onto the subdivision map that once we receive your approval, we'll get that signed by the time and file that in the clerk's office. But some of the primary considerations I know you'll be taking is how much this will affect the neighborhood. And as you can see, the location of Mr. Pfuhl's house in relationship to the closest person that is in view of that is separated by a large ravine with mature trees, and I have a picture here that I can also submit to the application. And when you look at that picture a little bit more closely, you'll see that at the southwesterly corner of the adjacent house is a fairly significant stand of evergreens or arborvitaes or something, a green tree that is certainly blocking view. So I'm thinking as far as the fact that this deck has been there for as long as it has, and there's only one neighbor that I would kind of doubt could even see that deck, let alone the house, I would request, we're requesting a favorable opinion by the board. And that's it for.
Okay, questions?
So could you just repeat, how long has that deck been there?
The deck, I think I was applied for and built in about 1992, if I understand correctly.
A wooden structure?
It's a wooden structure, yes.
Is it on a concrete pad or anything like that?
No, it's on support posts. Underneath the deck is a slate patio, and that being considered the structure, our measurements are from the patio. The deck does not, the deck is over the line by maybe about 7 feet or something like that. It's a walkout basement, and so the deck is up on a second floor level, more or less, even though it's a front level from the front yard. When you get to the back, it has dropped off. So the deck is about 8 to 10 feet above the ground, and it's on support posts. And should the deck be removed, there's a very nice sliding door that would have to be locked forever. So.
Is there a covering over the patio or over the deck?
No.
It's all open?
Yes.
Okay, and then, so when you're on the deck and you're looking out, that house that's behind, you're saying you can't see anything? You can't even see that house from the deck? The one that's behind?
As I recall, I could see the house, not clearly, but it's certainly far enough away, and unfortunately, I don't have a scale on the picture that I've submitted. But it is, I know from there to the property line, is at 70 feet, and then you have the driveway and the trees and the building on that, so I'd say it's at least 100 feet, if I were to just make a quick guess as to what the distance is.
No intention to add on to the deck, it's to leave it as is, the existing structure?
That's correct.
Okay.
He's under contract right now to sell, and actually the sale of the house is kind of waiting for this whole issue to be resolved. So a new owner will go in there, but I don't believe they'll be, when I measured up the house when we did the survey, I don't think he needs to add to that. It's a very nice deck and a very nice view.
Large. Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Anyone else on the board?
Just have one. I don't think you mentioned exactly how large the variance was that you wanted.
It's a 10-foot, I believe it's a 10-foot. I noticed in his application, because Herb filled this out, and he didn't, but it's a 10-foot application. We're required to have an 80-foot setback, and it measures 70. About 12.5% relief.
Anything else from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Happy
thank you.
birthday.
Thank you.
Application number 2, Gregory Harrison, 29 Helmsford Way, Penfield, New York, 14526. requests an area variance from Article 3-3-35-D-3 of the code to allow the construction of a shed with less setback at 29 Helmsford Way. The property is owned by Connie and Gregory Harrison and is zoned RR-1. This is SBL number 125.04-2-47. This is application number 13Z-0010.
Good evening. As Harold mentioned, my name is Greg Harrison. I reside at 29 Helmsford Way. My wife and I are putting in a pool and a patio in the backyard. We have an existing 8-foot by 8-foot shed that we would like to relocate to the southeast rear corner of our yard. And currently, there's a nice wooded, the rear property is all wooded, unused space right now. So to preserve the aesthetics, I guess, of the view, we have a line of small trees about 20 feet off of the rear property line. We'd like to place it behind those trees to sort of disguise the shed to maintain the view. So I'm requesting a 4-foot variance from the 10-foot setback for the rear property line to facilitate that placement.
So this is currently the shed that's there now, but in a different...
In a different location, correct.
I noticed you said that the tree line's about 20 feet from the back property line, which is,
The
when I-
the trunks,
yeah.
yeah.
And you got an 8-foot wide shed. Why can't you get it in compliance with the 10-foot setback?
If I maintain the 10 feet, the trunks are at 20, the branches start about this high off the ground, and there's a radius of about 7 or 8 feet. So to place it with the 10 feet, it would be pressed up against all the branches of the tree.
You have quite a long, lengthy backyard.
Mhm.
I guess another obvious question is, why concerned about the site? It's now close to the house, and clearly visible from your yard and from your neighbor's yard. Why can't you just put it in the back portion and meet the setback requirement?
We can, but with given the opportunity to hide it, we would prefer to hide it. And it's also that carves out a rectangular space, the width of the property, that's sort of unusable for much of anything else. So would be a nice location to preserve more of the lot.
What do you have stored in the deck at this point?
Excuse me?
What's in the deck, the shed, sorry.
Tractor, lawn, just various lawn equipment, rakes.
I noticed you had some items outside behind the hay bales. Why aren't those in there?
They don't fit.
For those, the grill, the ramps,
The ramps?
yeah, it looked like ramps. There was assorted things there.
We were in the process of taking a deck down, so maybe some of that wood it's now gone. There was a fairly large deck that was being demolished, so I don't know if some of that was it. But there are a number of items that were behind the shed. But in constructing this pool and patio, we are going to replace and put a pool house that will be able to pick up some of that space
So
as
you're
well.
going to remove that? You're going to remove the items that are back there?
Yes, correct.
How about the bales? Are those staying?
No, I got those for my sons to play archery, and they've done it once. So I'm not sure those are going to stay, but, yeah.
And you're making no changes to the color or exterior of the deck? The deck, I keep saying deck.
I don't plan it. We may repaint it, but it would be similar in color.
Okay. So you could put it other ways, but other places on the
Yep.
property, but you feel that this would be the most unobtrusive?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I did take the 3 adjoining property owners over to the location, and I talked to them about it and showed them where I was thinking about placing it. And when I happened to see Joe when he was out, and he recommended that I get signatures from them saying that we have talked about it and they've reviewed it.
And the opening, the door, the main door to the shed will obviously be facing away from the tree, like perpendicular to the trees?
Parallel. Yeah. It would be facing north, well,
Right,
right,
towards the right-hand side of the
right.
property?
So you'd be looking at the side of the shed from the rear. It won't fit, even with the variance. If I put the doors the other way, it won't you won't be able to get anything in or out of it that way.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all, Mayor.
Any other questions from the board? A question that I have is if we were to approve this variance, would it be harder for your neighbors to see the shed as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Application number 3, Jennifer Kusse, 55 Kings Mill Court, Penfield, New York, 14526, requests an area variance from Article 3-3-37-A of the code to allow the construction of a shed with less setback at 55 Kings Mill Court. The property is owned by Jennifer and James Kusse and is zoned R-1-20. This is SBL number 094.18-1-48. This is application number 13Z-0011.
Thank you for your time. And I'm Jennifer Kusse. This is my husband, Jim Kusse. We live at 55 Kings Mill Court. We are requesting a variance in the setback to build a shed. We're requesting basically a 6-foot exception to go back to 4 feet. We have as I believe you guys have copies of the instrument survey in your packages, but we have unfortunately, a very small picture up here. I apologize for that. As you can see, we have a very odd-shaped lot. But our bigger issue is the easements on the property. There's a 20-foot easement on the west side of the property that goes front to back, and also a 15-foot easement, at least on our side of the property, on the east and essentially back portion of the property. The property is also sloped in a lot of the areas, so the best placement for the shed is the back corner, which we'd like to go between the sewer drainage, if I'm saying that correctly, easement, and the creek easement, which is to the north, and then the left or the west property line. It will fit right in there. It'll probably be a 5-foot from the property edge, but we wanted to go 4 feet so that as we put it in there, we made sure that we were going to be in compliance. This will not cause a hardship or as far as undesirable change in the neighborhood, as that's where we would have put the shed if we were able to comply. If we did not have the easements, it would just be 10 feet in. That is a logical place on the lot to put it. There's also a row of trees in the back there, so by putting the shed back there, it kind of reduces the way it looks. It kind of blends in more. If we were to have to put it somewhere else, it would almost be in the middle of our property, which, by the way, also slopes down, so it would be very difficult to place a shed. I don't know if there's anything else we want to talk about. I don't think there's, the only other, this is another key point. To the west of the property is the New Covenant Fellowship. It's a huge lot, and the church is actually on the far west side. Right, so there's really no neighbors there. It's pretty much just wild field, if you will. So there's no immediate neighbors. And if you have any questions, otherwise we would appreciate a favorable decision.
Yes, I have a few.
Yes.
You want to put your shed on that little kind of green island that sits out there?
Yes.
That was in your back of your property line?
Yes.
Because it kind of sits towards your neighbor's yard, because your property line is
It's
kind of strange.
It's very
It jogs
strange.
out. You need a 7-foot side variance, is that what you're asking for?
6, so that the shed can go up to 4 feet from the property line.
Yes, that would give you 7.
We plan on
Or
putting in.
6, I'm sorry.
We would like to put a 10-by-10 shed in.
Okay.
We'd love to have a bigger one, but we understand we have limitations, so we think
Okay,
that will work.
Just make sure if you're asking for 6, that you do keep it at least minimum 4 foot
Okay.
off the property line, so you don't have to move it again, okay?
Understand.
What do you want to put in the shed?
Lawnmower, patio furniture in the winter. Would you like to add?
Hand tools,
Hand tools,
junk,
tool equipment, just equipment for the yard.
general junk.
Yeah. Garage clearing stuff,
Yes.
okay. What is this shed going to be made out of? Usually they give us a picture. Are you going to store by that?
If
I
you-
guess
if you
is
wanna-
the,
It will be store-bought, yes.
okay.
It'll
And
be
do you know
wood.
what color it
Yeah,
would be?
it'll be paintable, and we're going to paint it as close to the color of our house as possible.
That was exactly what I was going to
Yes,
ask. You're
and
going to try
it's-
and make it, okay.
It's a simple 10-by-10 shed,
Okay, store-bought shed.
8.5 feet high, yes.
Okay. Are you going to have any electricity in there?
No.
Okay, so no electricity, no lights, no anything that could shine on any place else, okay? And what you're saying is the visibility from the road, from Plank Road, has got to be 200 feet, somewhere in there?
Easily.
Okay, so, and it's hidden behind the trees, so, yes.
It would be well hidden from Plank Road specifically.
During the summertime, from the northeast portion of Plank, you would probably just barely see it. As you cross direct north and go to northwest, you're going to start to see the
Okay,
shed.
that's all I have, Danny.
Anyone
I
else
got-
on the board?
I just wanted to clarify, I guess the point we're making is, if it was in compliance, it wouldn't look much different from a distance than it.
If it were in compliance, it would be on the easement. That's the only, that's
No,
our
what
problem.
I'm saying, just visibly from a visual impact, it would look about the same as where you're gonna put it anyway.
Correct.
Yes.
Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thanks,
All right,
folks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 4, David Roberts, 23 Kings Mill Court, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests an area variance from Article 3-3-35-D-1 and Article 3-3-37-A of the code to allow the construction of a shed with less setback at 23 Kings Mill Court. The property is owned by Nicole and David Roberts and is zone R-1-20. This is SBL number 094.18-1-40. This is application number 13Z-0013.
Good evening. Thanks for having me and letting me talk tonight. My name is Dave Roberts. My wife and I live at 23 Kings Mill Court. We're homeowners of the residence, and we're requesting an area variance to build a storage shed on our property 5 feet from each the side and the property lines. We have a little bit of a unique shaped lot, kind of where the house was set, had to be set because of front easements and sewage, and then the way the lot's laid out. There's kind of an obvious choice in our mind of where you'd put the shed without having it obstruct the yard or be too far out in the yard where you lose a lot of space. So we're trying to push it back into the northwest corner of the property. Another reason we like to put it back there is when you're coming up 5 Mile Line Road, unfortunately, we're right on that corner. You kind of look right into our backyard, so we're hoping to do that and eventually plant some trees and some other nice landscaping to give us a little bit of privacy without putting a fence or something like that up, more of a natural barrier. So we're trying to get it back into that corner a little bit. And with the shape of the lawn, to do the 10 feet and the 10 feet, as we try to measure it out, we find ourselves kind of pushing farther and farther closer to the house and into the lawn, making a fairly significant sized unusable space behind and to the side of the property. So that's, kind of what we're looking for as far as a favorable response to the variance, just to try to be able to tuck that back into that corner as much as possible. I did talk with my neighbors. I got both my neighbor on the side and the church behind me, the New Covenant Church, the same as my friends down the street here. Both of them signed a letter of support for the project. I just kind of explained to them what I was looking to do. And they both seem pretty favorable about that. And then also behind us, between us and the church, is, depending on where you are, in between 50 and 75 feet of unused space. It's actually unmaintained right now. Brush, some trees, some evergreens, high grasses, rocks, all kinds of various different things. So that is quite a big natural buffer between us and their property. The shed that we've purchased, I've ordered a custom shed, so it'll be a little while before it comes, but it'll match the house with siding. It's going to be vinyl. It's going to match color to color, exactly shutters, door. It's 10 by 14. I think it'll look really nice. It'll add, a nice aesthetic value to the property. That was one of the things we want to do, and we're hoping to. I have 2 great little kids, but they have a lot of stuff, bikes and trucks and cars and all kinds of stuff. So I'd really like to put my tractor and stuff in there, but I'm sure I'll fill it with half their stuff, half our stuff, but a lawn tractor, yard supplies, patio, that kind of thing.
Okay, so I guess I'll ask the same question, only you probably answered it. They want a 10 by 10 shed. You're asking for a 10 by 14.
Yes, sir.
And the difference is the stuff you want to put in, right?
Yeah, we were trying to, everybody kept telling me, make sure you get it big enough. I said, I think no matter how big you get it, you're just going to fill it. But we have a 2-car garage. I currently park outside. I thought maybe when building a new house, I'd get to park inside, but that didn't happen. So it's just snow blower, lawnmower. Like I said, there's a little plastic slide that my kids have, all kinds of different things of that nature, just like to get kind of gas and those kind of machinery out of our garage, and then be able to store the patio furniture, any kind of that outdoor kind of grill, those kind of things in the winter would be able to put out there.
And these are actually neighbors to the left and to the right?
Yeah, so this is the bordering neighbors. If we put it in this back corner, the Merkels are to the left of me, or on the northwest there on the west side. And then the church, that's the senior pastor who I met with yesterday, and they are behind us.
Okay, and I'll ask you the same questions. Are you planning on putting in electricity in there?
No, sir.
Okay, so there's no lights, there's no plugs, there's no nothing like that?
Right,
in there?
nothing, yeah.
And what was my last question? I
Always
forgot.
ask about the color.
The what?
The color.
Color, yeah, and I think I believe he said that he was going to match the color of your house. It's a pre-made shed.
Yeah, I just
Am I
ordered
correct?
it from, Harris Gardens over there on 250, but it's gonna be a custom, to match the siding and match the shutters and match the roof. Everything's gonna look exactly like our house. So that was something that we wanted to do just to make sure it looked nice. And part of the community, we just wanted to make sure we were in compliance with the Ryan Homes community that's still being developed there. And we are kind of out in the open. I mean, people will see it. There's no doubt about that. There's no trees or anything in our yard, so we wanted to make sure that it looked nice in our yard and obviously was usable, but, kept the aesthetic value of the neighborhood.
Okay, I remember. You said 5 foot on each side. I thought in the application it was 6 foot side and 5 foot rear. Is it 5'5"? 5
It's
foot from the
5'5". It
side?
should be in the application, and I don't, unless I
Okay,
missed.
so it's 5'5" now, Harold, and not, maybe I read it wrong.
In the letter.
I thought
should
it was
be.
6 foot side and a 5 foot rear.
That's what the note said.
That's what it says in the application. 4 foot.
Oh, it does. Oh, in the letter, I have, it's 5 and 5, maybe I miswrote
Okay,
it on the
well,
application.
which one do you like? Not that you're gonna build it, and
right,
I don't
yeah.
give you an extra foot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the extra foot's certainly nice, but yeah, the 5 and 5 is what we thought we could get it to a good location, so I would, support that. I'm sorry if
All
I
right, then we'll correct that, Harold.
wrote
right?
that, yeah, sorry
5 and
about
5
that.
then? And it was Michael's question that I remembered too. Is it actually from the road? If you look at your shed from the road, you can't tell if it's 10 foot away or it's 4 foot away.
Right.
I mean, the visual thing is.
Yeah,
no
especially
different.
from the church, like I said, they'll have
Yep.
60 to 70 feet before they could get close. And then we do have like a property and a half between us and 5 Mile Line, which will separate us. And they have some berms that maybe you saw when you were out there, but they're starting to do some landscaping too. So yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell from a distance.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Anything else from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application number 5, Jared Lusk, Nixon Peabody LLP, 1300 Clinton Square, Rochester, New York, 14604, on behalf of Bell Atlantic Mobile of Rochester, LP, DBA Verizon Wireless, requests an area variance from Article 4-4-2-B and Article 10, Article 11-11-7-8-E-1 of the code to allow the construction of a freestanding communication tower with less buffer and setback at 1843 Empire Boulevard. The property is owned by Jeffrey Rydell and is Zone GB. This is SBL number 093-1-1-63. This is application number 130-0004.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Jared Lusk again with Nixon Peabody. With me is Brett Morgan. I'm representing Verizon Wireless, and Brett Morgan is a contractor with Verizon Wireless and assists in the identification of potential cell site locations when Verizon Wireless identifies a need. I trust everybody's had the opportunity to review the application and the materials. I won't bore you with going line by line through the materials. We've been before the planning board and now two times. We've explained the need for the project, and we went through the site selection process with them. As it's identified in Exhibit E to the application, we looked at about 35 locations in the Bay and Empire area to locate a tower. We need to upgrade the service in this area for our Bay and Empire cell site that, as is documented in the application, extends from the bottom of the hill up to the around Baytown Plaza. The need for the project is well documented in the project. We need about a 120-foot tower in this area. And as we went through all of our different locations, the Charlie Rydell restaurant, it was identified as the best location, both from a technical perspective as well as a general real estate availability perspective. And again, I refer you to Exhibit F of the application that went through all the different locations, and Exhibit G of the application that went through the multitude of locations and the limited real estate that's available for a tower in this area. As you know, first, we look for opportunities for co-location. There is an existing T-Mobile flagpole site out in that area that's at the Dunn Tire location. There just isn't any space around the base of the tower, and as is documented in the supplemental application materials in response to the town's engineering comments, we provide further detail really why that tower doesn't work for us. So we're back at the Charlie Rydell Pride, and then it's a matter of just trying to find the best location on the site for the project. There's two variances that we're requesting. Both of them are having to do with setback. The town codes require, I want to make sure, I hope I can be picked up on the microphone if I step away.
There's a portable mic underneath there.
Underneath.
Oops, I'm sorry.
On the bottom?
Try speaking into it.
Hello? You never get it, as many times as I've spoken into microphones, I can never get them to work.
You're not alone.
As you can, there's two setback variances essentially that we're looking for. One of them is the park is zoned R120, and obviously the Charlie Rydell parcel is zoned GB. In your code, there is a 100-foot buffer that's required between uses on the R120 and the GB zone. And in addition, in your cell tower application, or cell tower ordinance, you require a 200-foot setback from boundaries unless sufficient proof can be shown that that 200-foot setback is not appropriate. As you can see from the layout of the Charlie Rydell parking lot, obviously if we were in the 200-foot, if we were to comply with the 200-foot setback, we'd be in the middle of their parking lot. And from everything in the trees that are here, we thought it best to sort of try to blend this facility into the existing landscaping towards the rear of the property. And in doing so, triggered those two easements. It's really the easements are required as a result of our desire to tuck this thing back towards the rear and use the existing landscaping to blend it in rather than having it obviously in the middle of the sidewalk. Sidewalk, in the middle of the parking lot. Obviously, the technology that the cell phones and data devices use is a line of sight technology. So you have to be able to see this tower. Your phone has to be able to see this tower to work. And so we're trying to put it in the least obtrusive place that we can, given all the available sites that are in the area. And so that's sort of the basis. That is the basis why we are here at this location and seeking the variances that we are. I can say from Brett attending the planning board that I believe that the planning board was happy with this location and this site. They did ask us the question about moving it up, and obviously given the business that's operating here, we explained the same thing, that we wanted to try to keep this out of the parking lot and into the back area. Unless the board has any additional or has any questions of me, I'll allow you guys to. I'll stop.
Obvious question I have is, what's the fall zone of this tower? I mean, would it impact people parking there or the building?
The answer to that is no. In exhibit, I'm going to make sure I get the right exhibit for you. There is a structural letter, and it's an exhibit P to your application that indicates that. I don't have it. Sorry if you didn't see it, but there's a letter from a structural engineer, the tower manufacturer, that it will be the tower will be designed to fall within 40 feet of its base, meaning that it will fall within this area and not into the parking lot or onto the adjoining property.
And that's the way it's designed structurally?
That's the way it will be designed. It hasn't been designed yet, but when they manufacture it, they will engineer that fall protection into the tower.
And just describe the general area that's going to be immediately surrounding the tower?
Well, if you look at the photos, excuse me. Again, it's generally, and I don't want to call it scrub, but it's wild sort of thicket in this area with some trees, and it backs up to the park that's there. And again, on the other side of the fence, or the other side of the property boundary, it's a thicket that continues. It's not like there is running trails or active recreation areas. It's basically thicket, and it's my understanding that that's where the county plants lilac bushes and things like that they want to grow for Highland Park, that they transplant that into Highland Park as time is needed. So I'm looking in the photo simulation, so you can see. Actually, if you look in Exhibit L to the application, it's sort of hard to see, but you can see the thicket from the aerial photo.
Yeah, we have a lot of photos.
Is the tower visible from the park?
It will be visible from the park. Any tower that is particularly on this side of the road will be visible to the park, but it's in Exhibit H to the application. We did do a visual EAF to outline the overall visibility. Again, we're trying to balance where we can place this to deliver the service, and really anywhere along that road you're going to see that from the park. But again, you want to be able to see it to make the technology work.
Any buffering that's going to be involved visually?
No, obviously, the existing thicket is there. One of your requirements is whether or not it's buffered, but I think as we've outlined in the application, there's plenty of stuff, growth around, landscaping around that area wild, that we're going to preserve it to try to, again, to maintain or limit the visibility. And there's a fence. There's a fence along this area here, and it's sort of, if you were to look at the pictures that we've provided, it's the fence isn't in the greatest of shape, and we're going to be replacing it. So from the parking lot, you're really going to, and there's a slope down towards the property line. So as I indicated in our application materials, it's going to be the bottom portion of the facility will be screened from the fence. You probably won't see much, if any, of the equipment shelter. You only see the tower.
Or will you have access to the tower, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And in your opinion, is there any adverse impact to the environmental conditions in the neighborhood as a result of this?
As we set forth in our application, the answer is no. Obviously, providing reliable wireless telecommunications coverage benefits the neighborhood, and particularly those people that are in the park, that if they were ever to need the emergency service or to be able to communicate, they'd have reliable service there. But again, balance this against where potentially it could be in the middle of a parking lot or up against neighboring houses or residential areas, this is the least impact from our perspective.
And speaking of that, where is the nearest residence? Do you know?
It's
to the south on Smith Road. Past Buckman's, or not Buckman's, the
Delta Sonic?
Delta Sonic, thank you. On Smith Road, where you actually gain access to that park.
That's approximately, distance-wise? Approximate.
1,500 feet.
Yeah, and that's all the questions I have.
Yeah, let's talk about security and safety. What do you build around the base of this tower? Okay, I'm sure maybe you have some kind of equipment at the base, but is there fencing? You talked about the one fence in back of Charlie Rydell's, but are you going to fence off the entire tower so that kids can't get in there and try and climb the tower or get involved in anything?
There's an 8-foot fence that's constructed around the base of the tower in what we call in the compound, and that prevents, and there are also security monitoring systems within the compound, and obviously we wouldn't discuss the entire amount of the security, but trust when somebody is in the compound, Verizon Wireless security monitoring is aware of that.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that up for the public and, you know, and the viewing audience, to bring up security and safety for the kids and everybody else.
Absolutely, it is locked within a compound, and then the tower doesn't have any climbing pegs on it. There's barbed wire at the top of the fence that surrounds the compound.
Thank you.
The climbing pegs are 20 feet at least up in the air from the base.
Is the equipment shed a part of this compound?
It is.
Okay.
It's within the square, or not the square, but the rectangular lease parcel area.
Okay, so it would just be those two, the tower and the equipment shed?
And the fence would be
And
really.
yeah, okay.
Equipment.
And has the planning board asked you to disguise this at all?
They haven't, and the difficulty, of course, with disguising towers is the context in which you often place these. If you were to put, we've pursued towers that are in silos that are next to barns. You couldn't put a silo out in the middle of the field with no barn. When you have a large stand of trees, sometimes they'll put fake or artificial branching at the top of the tower to make it blend. Here we have, we don't really have that context to make a stealth design appropriate in this area.
Anything else? Anybody in the audience want to be heard on this?
Thank you.
Send Dan in when you're.
Yeah.
when you-
Sending the chairman back.
Application number 6, Daniel Pope, R.A., Daniel Pope Architecture and Associates, P.L.L.C., 30 Lift Bridge Lane, Fairport, New York, 14450. On behalf of Europa Cafe, request a conditional use permit under Article 10-10-4 and Article 3-3-72-A of the code to allow a cafe at 1694 Penfield Road. The property is owned by D&L Realty Incorporated and is zoned LB. This is SBL number 139.05-1-53. This is application number 13Z-0009.
Good evening. My name's Daniel Pope, and I'm the architect with my clients from Europa Deli Cafe. They currently operate a small deli here in the Speedy's Plaza that I think everybody's familiar with. And presently, there's a vacant tenant space that we'd like to occupy and expand their business with a cafe. And the current space is about 1,200 square feet, and we're here to ask for a conditional use permit. I've outlined some of the things in items 1, 2, and 3 on my application, and if anybody has any questions, I'm sure to answer them.
What type of capacity will this cafe have?
We're looking at seating for approximately 20 people inside and possibly 6 to 8 people outside. Small cafe tables outside.
2, 3?
Probably three
tables?
deuces.
Those would obviously be close to the building, so they wouldn't prevent.
Right, probably right up against the wall, actually. And there's about on my plan here, I've got about 10 feet of buffer on the plan. The sidewalk here so there's plenty of room for that walkway to be clear and have the tables in place against the wall.
Okay. Would you be serving out there, or would people get service inside?
This is kind of like a self-serve. You go to a queuing area like a Starbucks, and you'll make your order, and it'll be short order, bakery goods, coffee, specialty coffees, some sandwiches, and they'll prepare, hand those over to you, you pay, and then you sit down or leave. And so there won't be any service there, except for cleanup.
Would you be preparing any type of fried foods or things?
No.
Okay, so it'd be mostly baked
Right.
type, or sandwiches that are
Right.
cold, hot food as
Right.
well?
Yep.
Okay. How many employees would this cafe
Well,
have?
presently, the owners are 2 people here that are with me, and they may have, one more employee if needed, or?
It's a family-owned business, so it's gonna be, my mom helps out her mom, just, we don't have any employees.
Okay.
That's fine.
Is there going to be a connection between the 2 stores, or are they going to be
Yes,
separate?
we're thinking of French doors to open up and close off. When the groceries close, they can still have the occupancy of the cafe. Yeah.
Okay.
we'd like to
Hours
do
of operation?
that. We have 8 to 8 Monday through Saturday, and I think I mentioned 8 to 2 on Sunday.
Okay. And obviously, it's a commercial plaza. The parking is sufficient. Ingress and egress is already there.
Right, lighting and
Lighting.
no
How about-
nuisance with music or anything. We're not
Are you going to
planning.
have music outside?
It might be light music that's piped in from the deli, but no live music or loud.
This would be inside or outside as well?
We haven't decided yet.
Okay.
It's gonna be inside,
Yeah.
just like XM radio, let's say.
Outside? You
No,
wanna-
inside, inside.
Why don't you come on up so you can be heard?
Yeah.
I can hear you, but I can't be sure that
Okay.
the.
Yeah, it's gonna be just
studio
inside
can.
soft music, that's about it.
Okay, soft music
Yeah,
inside.
like
So
radio.
couldn't be heard, I mean, there are residences to the rear
No, that's
of
nothing's
this,
gonna be outside at all.
Okay, you won't be able to hear it outside.
No.
And signage, what are you gonna do as far as,
Well, as you see, it's not the greatest looking signage, in my opinion, and subjective, but we would probably have to keep to the landlord's requirements and, of course, the town's requirements. So if at all, I would like to identify it a little better with some nicer signage if we can, but we haven't gotten to that point yet, and we'll have to make that submission.
the name of this cafe?
Well,
Do you have it?
It's gonna be Europa Cafe.
Okay,
Same thing, only cafe in there.
I give you a little plug, as long as you're on TV.
yeah.
Okay. That's all I have to.
Anyone else from the board have questions? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Okay, thank you very much.
Very much for your time.
Application number 7, Bill Wickham, Wickham Farms, 1821 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests an expansion of a conditional use permit under Article 10-10-4 and Article 3-3-36-K of the code, and requests a waiver of local law number 2 of 1994 entitled Fire Sprinkler System Law to allow a party room and the construction of a 24-foot by 50-foot building at 1821 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. The property is owned by Bill Wickham and is zoned RA-2. This is SBL number 125.01-1-25.3. This is application number 13Z-0012.
Hi, I'm Bill Wickham, own Wickham Farms on Route 250, and I am here to seek exception to the code that requires a sprinkler in my barn. So I'm essentially putting up a 1,200 square foot barn, be used predominantly for ag purposes, though we'll also at times host birthday parties, which we have at the farm. And under current town of Penfield code, if there are more than 50 people that can have a public assembly, I would be required to have sprinklers. New York State code would only require that for 100, and the way the calculation goes, it's 15 square foot per person, so a 1,200 square foot building essentially can accommodate, or at least theoretically possible to accommodate 80 people. So the building will be a steel building, steel roof, concrete slab, essentially unfinished. There'll be 148 feet of exterior perimeter, and there'll be 46 linear feet of doorway. So I'm here to ask the zoning board to consider, how did you say that, Harold?
A waiver from
Waiver.
the...
Waiver.
A waiver from the
Yes.
sprinkler requirement. I can honestly stand here and say that I'm very comfortable that life safety will not be impacted if I do not include a sprinkler system. And I'm also very comfortable saying that, it's the cost involved with such a thing I won't do the project if I have to sprinklerize it. It won't be a heated structure. I don't have water service there, so it would be extremely cost prohibitive.
Okay, and you're also here for an expanded conditional use for the party house.
Take your word. It's somebody. I don't know where the idea that it's a party house came up. It's really an ag structure. We use predominantly for our harvest share pickup. Our other farm uses. But apparently, if we have a birthday party in there, occasionally it's considered a party room. So.
And I think somewhere it said something about a wedding, possibly, or something. didn't it?
Really?
I
Wow.
don't know, it seems to me like it did, can't remember.
Take your word for it. But again, when I went through the planning board process, my understanding was I'm appearing here tonight for the sprinkler issue.
Well, initially you were going to go to the planning board for site plan and conditional use.
But then it was
and then
referred for
just
administrative review, which was
right, so
approved.
we had to bring the conditional use process over to the zoning board to facilitate the entire package, so.
Take your word for it. It's not
Okay.
communicated to me prior to you
Okay,
just
you're
mentioning
here
that,
anyway,
Carol.
so let's do it.
Sure.
Where on the property is this structure going to be located?
So it'll essentially be, for those of you that are familiar with the property, it would be, if you were standing with your back to Route 250, sort of at the edge of the jumping pillow, it would be a little bit west of that, and essentially between where the animals are and Grossman's.
And will it be facing towards 250 or
It
not?
the long side will be facing towards 250. Yep, exactly.
And I noticed...
I'm sorry, I thought there was maps that were here in advance, so I
Well, we
apologize
have to have
for that.
everything for the record anyway.
Certainly entitled to ask questions.
No question, no question. I just feel bad if I didn't
No,
provide that.
we have maps right here. Now
Got it.
people can easily read maps.
No worry. Boy, oh boy, I stepped in it there, Carol. Sorry about that.
You should be used to that with all the animals.
All the animals.
Now, when I was out there, I noticed you had some flags out there, some yellow and some blue flags.
Yes,
And the woman who was showing me around wasn't quite sure why
we
they were
were
there.
we
or
were
what
figuring
was-
out which orientation was right. So that was the question: is it going to be long ways or short ways? And I've never pulled either the blue or the yellow flags, Carol, and I can't remember which ones. But basically, it goes the long, the 50-foot side will be facing east and west.
Now, I noticed it was very close to the miniature golf course. Are you planning on moving the miniature
No.
golf course at all?
Mm-mm.
It's going to be right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Now, how tall is this building going to be?
10 feet. Well, the sidewalls are 10 feet, and I'd have to look at the roof pitch, but it's 13, 14 at the peak. I'm in the range.
And I think you said it was going to be constructed of steel?
Yeah, it'll look very similar to our existing structure. I think somebody coined the phrase, it will look like its little brother.
And will there be any cooking or anything done inside, even barbecuing or nothing like that?
No plans for that today.
Okay. And how large is your total property?
Acreage,
Mhm.
8.9, just under 9 acres.
Okay, now let's go on to the sprinkler system. Is the cost your main reason for not putting that in?
Well, sure, that's the main reason. I am not convinced that there's a need either, but the cost, again, it would be extremely cost prohibitive I'd have to add a water service. Again, the facility's not heated, so in the winter, it would freeze or have to be completely evacuated, meter removed, that sort of thing.
And I noticed in the letter you sent us, there are quite a few exits. Would you like to explain for us what all the exits are?
Sure. Essentially what my vision is it will virtually serve like a pavilion, at least when there are people in it. So let's start on the side facing the south, which would be the parking lot side. So that would be a 24-foot side. There'll be a 10-foot double slider. So a 10-foot rough opening with 5-foot sliding doors that will slide each way open. Same thing, and there'll also be a 36-inch standard pass door. It'll be essentially the carbon copy of that to the north end. And then the east side will have 2 of the 10-foot double sliders. So again, they're really 5-foot sliders that slide together. When you open it, they'll be 10 feet. And the west side, there'll just be 3 double-hung windows. So the only side of this building that won't have a large doorway would be the west side, and that's primarily because of wind.
So between the doors and the windows, if there were a fire, it would be pretty easy for people to get out.
Well, I hadn't even included the windows. That's a good point. Let's see. So if I add the windows in, there would be 52 feet of egress on a 148-foot perimeter.
Would all those doors be capable of being open from the inside normally?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be-
Actually, in fact, they can only, well,
must have
you can only latch, you can latch them only from the inside. So you can open them from inside or out if they're unlatched. But from the inside,
It would always be capable of being.
Always. You could never, once you're inside, it's just slide them and they're open. Yep.
Would you have like fire extinguishers
Oh,
in
yeah.
there just in case?
Yeah.
And a fire alarm maybe or something that would, some kind of an alarm? No
I won't
alarm.
have an alarm, but
But you would have extinguishers?
Yeah, I think I have to, don't I, Harold?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm quite sure I have to have lighted exit signs as well.
Lit exit signs and emergency lighting.
Yeah. One and the same,
They'll probably come as a combo pack like we have
Right.
there.
just like we have in the main building.
That's all I have, thank you.
Anybody else?
I just got one.
Sure.
What are you going to put inside of it? What are you going to provide for the public? Are you going to provide like 4 tables and
Yeah.
32 chairs or?
Yeah,
just
so we'll essentially, haven't quite determined that yet, but we'll either use the fiberglass picnic tables that we have right now, Joe, or else we'll use the breakdown tables that are the 8-footers with the plastic top and folding type chairs.
Okay,
Yep.
and you're not planning on like putting hay in there or something like that, that would be combustible?
No.
Okay, I got you. Got what you want.
Anybody else? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application number 8, Donald McClellan, Julia Rose Properties, LLC, 2480 Broncroft Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14625, requests a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-12-B and Article 7-7-12-C and Article 7-7-12-D to allow greater freestanding signage, two freestanding signs, and less setback than 20 feet from the right-of-way of Broncroft Boulevard at 2480 Broncroft Boulevard. The property is owned by Julia Rose Properties, LLC, and is Zone LB. This is SBL number 123.07-1./2480. This is application number 13Z-0014.
Before we start, could I just ask you one question? Are you still asking for 2 signs?
No.
Oh, you just 1 sign
Yep.
now? Okay.
I'm Don McClellan, Julia Rose Properties. This is Dale Drott, DG&M Agency. Dale's looking to put a sign up for his business. We've been here before, so you know the background. Basically, the existing dentist has agreed to come on the sign, so we're just going to do the 1 sign. Just trying to tie up loose ends on it and get your approval on the project moving forward. I'll let Dale's here and I am here, so if you have any questions.
And the dentist will take down her freestanding sign?
That's correct.
Okay, and how large will this new sign be?
I believe that the sign is 4 by 5, 20 square feet. It's the maximum allowable, and it's can go as high as 20 feet. But I don't believe when it was designed, I believe it's right around 20 feet, but it's not higher than that.
It shows as 10 on the.
10, then that's whatever's showing there, right?
And is this sign going to be in the same place that, right now, there's another sign?
Where the
Well,
dentist sign is.
at the existing sign, or.
I don't
believe-
mean the dentist sign, I mean the other sign, the rental sign that's out
No, that's
there.
a
No, it's not going-
temporary sign.
No, that's no.
No, I know that's not gonna stay, but I wonder if the new sign, if you want it in that location.
No.
Well, where do you exactly want it to be?
To eliminate having to have another schedule, there's already a setback for where the sign is now. And so we would put it right in that, where the
Same
dentist sign is. Or if it goes where there's an existing tree, there wouldn't be a need for a setback because it would be far enough back.
Well, the setback that's for the existing sign automatically doesn't go to your sign. We still have to ask you why you need to have that setback now for a new sign.
Well, we would need it so we could put the sign up.
We're just replacing the
We're
sign.
replacing that.
We're just
we're
replacing that
the sign.
existing sign, and we want to maybe put it in the same spot, and wanted your permission to do that.
Now, I talked to the dentist, and she didn't think that was such a great place for a sign. And she thought that the sign that you have, the rental sign that's out there now, whoever put that up, that was a better place. Have you thought about that? Because it's easier seen?
Yes, we thought of there, and we also thought of where there's a tree also where the sign could go that might even be a better place.
And
And that, pardon,
where do you prefer it to be?
where do I prefer it to be?
Anywhere.
Anywhere that's going to get approved.
Okay, now describe the colors of the sign.
The colors of the sign are the same as in that picture. They're
You haven't changed them, they're still going to be blue and
yes,
black and gray and?
yes.
Okay. And the height you said was 10 feet. And is this sign going to be lighted at all?
Yes, there is a backlit sign.
And what hours?
Well, it's like till 11. Well, we haven't really considered, because I know mileage. I know the sign next to it, mileage, it's lit all the time. That's next to it, but so we haven't given it much thought. But as far as if it would be, we want it to be visible. Whatever's, yes. I mean, we want it to be visible, so when people are driving by it, you know, at 9 o'clock at night, we'd like them to be able to see the sign.
Okay, and how far from the property line will this sign be?
How far from the property line?
From the
I think
road?
from the right-of-way, the dentist sign now is 5 feet, and you want this new sign to be 5 feet?
At least 5, yeah.
Yes.
Now, I have a question. I went through your building the other day, and down in the basement, there are several open spaces for offices or whatever.
Right.
And on your sign, DG&M is taking up, looks like over half of the sign, and there's space for 2 more. So one would be the dentist. And I'm concerned if you have, already you have another tenant in there, the CPAs, and there's nobody up on the second floor above the dentist there, and where another firm used to be. And I'm wondering, what will you do when these other people move in?
Well, there's, the CPA's not interested in going on the sign. Their business isn't that big. I do have under contract a business for the second floor, and they were going to talk to Dale about becoming that third party, and then also have possibility of 3 smaller businesses in the other vacant area, and they're not going to be interested. Their business will be a tertiary business, so it'll be too small to go on a big sign out front.
I think that's about all the questions I have. Oh, I know what I want to say. You have that other sign there, that DG&M sign that's closer to the DG&M insurance
Right, we
agency.
talked about that last time.
And that's lighted.
It's a directional sign.
Well, it's actually not a directional sign. It's pretty large, and it's lighted, and it says DG&M insurance agency. Now, when you get to...
It's not lighted.
It's not lighted.
Well, there's a light out in front of it.
Yeah, but it's inert, it's not lit.
But you don't light,
That's
you don't
landscape
use that
lighting.
That's
light.
just landscape lighting, and we're probably going to change that anyway, but that's more of a directional that shows that DG&M's to the left, because to the right is the dentist.
Right. Now, when you walk up to that, there is no entrance in the front of the building, so you have to walk to the sidewalk, which is right there.
Right.
And as you take that one step up and you look straight ahead, you can see your 2 doors that have 4 signs on that say DG&M. Don't you think that's sufficient to identify where DG&M is?
No,
You don't think so?
no.
So if we gave you an actual directional sign, it would just say DG&M, our normal sign, with an arrow, that would be all right?
If you gave a normal,
Yeah, usually our
Carol,
directional signs...
I'm not sure that this is apropos. I mean, we're just looking at a second sign. The determination has been made that that's a directional sign. I don't think you should negotiate with them to take a sign down to give them another sign that may not be directional. Harold already is.
I don't, I'm not sure that that's where she was going. I hear what you're saying, but let's let her finish this
Okay,
line.
go
But
ahead.
I understand, but I didn't think that's where she was going with this.
Right.
She may be.
No.
I could be wrong.
I wasn't actually, I just was wondering if you thought that you would have enough with having this other big sign out in front, whereas now you have no sign, and that this DG&M will take up half of the space of the new sign, if we allow it.
Well, if you allow the sign, that still doesn't tell them which door to go to. That just tells them to pull into the parking lot, and DG&M is in that building.
We're still directing everybody to the different offices anyway, so.
Because, you know, there's two doors, I mean, and both of them can almost look like main entranceways, and when you first pull into the building, you don't even see the entrance around where the entrance is to DG&M. You first pull into the parking lot, you see the two doors up front, which is where the dentist and the CPA's entrance are. So the sign, so that directional sign is what directs people to use that sidewalk to go in, to use the sidewalk to come into our entrance area.
Well, actually, you don't really see any of
The main
them.
sign is only telling them to turn into the driveway. This is where DG&M is located at 2480 Browncroft Boulevard.
That's right, except that when you get to that sidewalk, the dentist does have a sign on her door that says dentist, so you can see that's it, and then you immediately see your doors with the DG&M sign plus your big,
But we also get
supposedly
people from the
directional
dentist,
sign.
we also get people from the dentist office in our building too. and
We're constantly-
She has a sign on the door, so I mean, it just lends itself to
so people
to
come through your two doors that say DG&M in 4 spaces, and then when you go into the next door, there are 2 more DG&M signs, and then they have to go up the stairs, and they still think it's a dentist?
No, I said the dentist office comes into our area.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but they would have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 signs and go up the stairs.
They know, once they get to the door, yes, they know it's DG&M because those are decals on the window, I mean, on the side window lights, that those decals are there, but you don't see those decals until you get partway up the sidewalk.
Okay, well, you're going to have to decide about your hours and the other things that we discussed. Let the staff know so that they'll know exactly what you want, exactly where you want the sign. All those little details will have to be discussed with the staff.
What staff?
Our
Harold.
town
Harold.
staff, Harold.
Okay.
Well, you know, she just described as a little detail where you want the sign.
Not a little detail.
No, not at all. In fact, given the fact that the other sign is coming down, you're not asking for 2 signs anymore. Really,
Right.
the only thing you're asking for is the location issue. So you're gonna have to excuse me, but I still don't know where you propose to put the sign. Do you have a map? If you don't mind, put that up and just draw a circle, draw something, so we know, and so Harold can tell us exactly what is the proper variance setback issue that we need.
Well, that's my map, but I'll get it back from,
That's your map?
yeah, that's my
Yeah,
map.
he'll give it back, yeah.
But I need to scale it to.
You'll get it back.
Oh,
Existing sign sits in this island right here. I need like binoculars to see it, but right where my finger is, there's an island where the existing sign is. It's 5 feet back from the DOT crown at the road, which is an extended curb, extended out because they have this crown for any kind of expansion of Browncroft Boulevard. But the existing sign's right there, and at minimum, we'd like to replace that sign with the location and just swap the 2 out.
but you just kind of said 2 different things. And I just want to be, you said at a minimum we want to, and then you said swap the 2 out.
Well, we want to swap
Is
it
it,
out.
is it that simple that you're going to take the existing sign, get rid of it, and put this new sign there, right where it is now?
Now, if we could get, I'd rather have it where the sale sign is. That's where the picture shows it being, but you.
More towards the middle of the parking lot.
But you were having a problem with that when we were asking for 2 signs. But I don't know if that's an issue as much now that there's only gonna be 1 sign.
In the island or not?
I know what you're saying. In other words, you wanted it right where you show it here,
Yes,
but you were asking for a second sign. So now that you're not asking for a second sign, do you want it right here?
yes.
Thank you. Got it, Dan?
Yeah, I do got it.
Okay,
I just want to
I'm
make
just
sure
saying, 'cause
that
the other
that
sign's
we're all on
coming
the
down
same
now.
page of where
Yeah.
you want it. The issue of 2 signs is moot.
That's right.
So location is the only issue that we're dealing with right now.
Correct.
Well, you know, how it looks and all that stuff too, but you fit within the code on size, so that's not an issue. So Harold, are you satisfied that you can go up there and you know exactly where they're talking about this?
Yeah, prior to this discussion opening up, I scaled that general area off, and from the edge of the parking lot going towards the right-of-way, it's about 8 feet. So if they want to place a 4-foot sign and that 4-foot wide sign, if they place the 4-foot wide sign right at the edge of the parking lot, which I think they need to tell us that would require a setback to eventually be at 4 feet from the right-of-way. If they want to be off the parking lot a little bit, it's going to be losing that incremental distance as they go closer to the road. Did you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, do you want the edge of the sign to be at the parking lot? At the edge of pavement?
No, I'd rather it be centered.
I'm talking about coming towards the right-of-way. You can't go in the right-of-way.
No. No, that's fine.
And there's only 8 foot of property.
Where the
between
edge of the
right-of-way.
sign would be at the parking lot?
Right. If you place the sign right at the edge of the parking lot, at the edge of the pavement.
Right.
Then you'll have another 4 feet left over to the right-of-way from where the close edge to the right-of-way is.
That would be acceptable.
All right. I just caution that because I think the sign drawing was a double post.
Yes.
For snow purposes or plowing purposes, you put a structure that close to the edge of the parking lot, it could get hit by plowing operations. That's, if that makes any sense. I mean, sometimes you have to weigh normal general operations that are going to be conducted for 4 to 6 months during the year with your sign getting in the way.
Right.
And hit.
No, don't want that.
And I think they just want to hear from you where you want to place it. If you want to place it a foot off the parking lot, I think that you need to tell them. If you want to place it right to the edge of the parking lot,
No.
that's what.
Right. Yeah, I don't want it to get it hit, so if we could place it 2 feet off the edge of the parking lot, probably would be safe.
It would still be out of the right-of-way. And then that would require probably a 2-foot setback off the right-of-way and an 18-foot variance.
Okay, so let's say we're going to go with that. Far enough from the parking lot, you don't have to worry about a plow hitting it or snow being piled up against it, but still close enough to the right-of-way that you're going to need a variance. Let me ask you about that location, and I think I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If the sign were to go in that location, would there be any sight distance issues with people coming in and out of the various driveways and exits on that side of Browncroft?
No.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
I'm just curious, when they do plow, where do they put the snow generally?
Between the end of the parking lot over toward Mileage Master. And then
Okay, on
over
that
to-
other
yeah,
side, not
right.
on, okay.
Yeah, there's nowhere to put it up front, so,
Yeah, because the parking, that's what I thought, the parking spaces are right there.
right.
Okay.
Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? Come on up, sir.
It is good.
Hi, I'm Bob Reed, 275 Parkview Drive, about a mile from the site you're talking about, but I drive and bicycle in the area every day. And I thought I came here tonight to speak against granting the permit, but I'm kind of confused now, because I thought it was 2 signs. I thought one was going to be bigger than what was currently allowed, and I thought it was going to be something new that intruded into the minimum setback area. And I thought, that doesn't sound so good. This is a main portal to Penfield, and you come up out of the green open spaces of Ellison Park, and closer, bigger, more, would make it more like West Henrietta Road, and I don't think we want that in that area. So I'm totally confused. You don't have to try to unconfuse me, but I would just urge you to think about whatever is allowed, that it look as good as it could and not be more commercial than it needs to be, you know. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks very much.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Next application.
Application number 9, Fred Rinaldi, Laurel Land 2010 LLC, 205 St. Paul Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14604. Requests a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-13-C of the code to allow 2 building-mounted signs at 2010 Empire Boulevard. The property is owned by Laurelland 2010 LLC and is Zone LB. This is SBL number 093.02-1-10. This is application number 13Z-0016.
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Cook. I'm the property manager for 2000 Empire Boulevard, and I will be the property manager of 2010 Empire Boulevard. I'm here tonight because we were previously in front of the town for approval to build the new dialysis center at 2010 Empire. This is this building right here. These are the existing buildings, front medical building. This is the back. Like I said, we were previously in front of the town for approval to build the new dialysis center. We have since received that approval, and we commenced construction and are pretty much nearing completion of the project. We're looking at probably before the end of the summer, before they're open for business. Tonight, I'm requesting of the board the ability to install 2 exterior signs at 2010 Empire Boulevard, or more notably, the addition of a second sign on the south elevation of the new dialysis center. So we're requesting a sign right here. We've already been granted a sign on the west elevation. We have previously shown signage exclusively to the west elevation. However, for cars traveling northbound on Empire Boulevard, the west elevation signage is insufficient in providing adequate visibility of the dialysis center. Due to the fact that Empire Boulevard is a 4-lane highway with cars pretty much traveling at speeds of 45 miles per hour or greater, we believe that for patients pulling into a campus of what will now be a total of 3 medical buildings, the ability to safely and quickly identify which building they're looking for will be very important. So what we're trying to say is currently when you enter, there's 2 entrances to 2000 Empire Boulevard. There's one right around here and one here. This one's going to go away. We're going to relocate it here, and there's going to be a 3rd location right there. So this is going to be, you're going to have the ability off of Empire Boulevard to come in and kind of navigate around all of the buildings. As mentioned, 2000 and 2010 Empire Boulevard will soon make up a medical campus of 3 total buildings, which will now offer the 3 access points that I just talked about. Patients navigating the interior portions of the campus will most certainly have difficulty identifying the main entrance to the dialysis center, if not for the addition of a second sign on the southern elevation. This type of directory signage is consistent with other campuses of this nature. Furthermore, we are requesting a total combined signage area for both of the exterior signs of approximately 93 square feet. That total square footage is well below the town of Penfield's allowance of the 2 square feet per linear foot of frontage, which would give us approximately 154 square feet. So again, with the additional sign that we're requesting combined with the west elevation sign that we're already allowed, we're well beneath the 154 square feet. Our thought was that instead of putting up obviously one huge sign on the west elevation, which would be not very attractive, we're trying to split it up to not only make it more aesthetically pleasing, but also the safety concern that we have for people coming up from this way. If they only have the signage here, we feel that, we have a lot of elderly patients that visit the property. The fact that they wouldn't be able to quickly and immediately see a sign here, we feel it would add to confusion, potentially even accidents. So that's kind of our thought process with, instead of the one larger sign that we could have done, we're trying to make it more safe for our patients and more visibly appealing. That's about it.
Have images of the signs?
I do,
that you wanna
yeah.
put up there?
Do you not have them as part of your packet?
We do, but for the viewers and for the people in the audience.
It's kind of small, but basically, this is the south elevation sign that we're requesting. It's 29.54 square feet. It's going to be right, it would be right here. It's not going to be a lit sign, whereas the west elevation sign would be lit. There is going to be a canopy that would have, lighting to illuminate it at night, and of course the parking lot lighting. So this would not be a lit sign.
West elevation sign, is the entire sign rear lit, or is it just the letters? one sheet that we have, it has the layout for the west elevation sign.
Right.
And then below it, it just shows the letter R. Do you have that one?
Yes, this right
Yeah,
here.
where it looks like just maybe the letters are very lit, or maybe they're just showing the back housing of it.
Yeah, I would imagine that the entire thing would be lit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the one for the south elevation is non-illuminated?
Not illuminated, no.
So what material is that made out of?
That's going to be 3/8-inch thick brushed aluminum letters.
Okay.
Yeah. Mounted to the wall.
And then as of now, is there any other potential signage that you want to have on the property to call out this building?
No, not to my knowledge. This is all I've been made aware of. Yeah, I believe this is it.
Okay.
I think they're going to be doing some modifications to the existing monument sign at 2000 Empire Boulevard that might incorporate 2010, but I think that's a totally different
Right.
thing. I'm not involved in this.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
What are you doing with numbering? Are the building, obviously got numbers on the building. Those
Right.
going to be visible too from, where are you putting those?
Yeah, I would imagine, I don't actually know what the address, oh, yeah, 2010. They don't show it on this drawing that I have here, but I imagine there's going to be numbering that's, somewhere on the building. Maybe,
Entrance?
yeah, maybe vinyl graphics on the windows. Yeah, that was not something that they made me aware of, but I can certainly find out. Yeah. To be honest, the numbering, we have another property right now, the Platinum Building, and the new Sports Medicine Building that just went up behind it, and already I'm getting complaints from tenants. There's signage for the new back building pretty close to the Platinum Building, and already patients are getting confused, even though the sign itself states 2064 and it has an arrow pointing the back building. The patients are still confused, so it's tricky. I mean, signage.
Anything else from the board? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
I think that was the last hearing.
Yes.
Hearings will be adjourned. We will take a brief recess and then reconvene in the back of the room. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.